All right, today we're going to jump into changing the brain using neuroscience. And this model is actually from Dr. Sarah McKay. At the end of this video scribe is a link to her website so you can dive in more to all of her amazing research and her information. She has the Neuroscience of Coaching Academy that I would highly recommend. And this tool is actually from that academy. So again, let's jump in because it's absolutely fascinating. So I think the question arises is why is it so hard to change behavior? It would seem that if we decide to do something that's better for us, that it would be an easy thing to do. Surely our brain wants us to do what is best for our success in life, to be happy, to be healthier, to not be as reactive. We have to remember that our brain is amazing, but it's also lazy and it hates change. In fact, it will sabotage you to keep doing what you've always done because its number one function is survival. It wants to do what it's always done, even if it's detrimental. It doesn't look that far ahead. It's not really good at planning. So, when we're looking to change the brain, we have to look at all the different streams of data that's coming in and impacting our decision making. We have information coming from the outside, we call that outside in. We have information coming from our biology, we call that bottom up. And then we have information coming from our own thinking, our own belief systems. And all of these streams of data kind of impact how we move forward and how we can actually change the brain if we take advantage of that information. So let's jump into what these are. So, outside in are environmental influences such as your job, the stress you have, your social networks. It's everything that happens around you. And this is pretty important because your environment shapes a lot of even what genes are expressed, believe it or not. If you're in a supportive environment, you're probably going to be more successful than if you're in an environment that is mostly negative. All right. So the data that's coming in from the outside pushing into you can actually impact your success or your progress on a goal. Then we look at what information is coming from our biology, our bottom up. This is, did we get enough sleep? Our genes, our nutrition. Are we hydrated? Remember, the brain needs water. And is our immune system, are we sick? Are we battling something? And of course, hormones. Oh my goodness. We could spend all days talking about how hormones impact our decision making. But our biology also impacts how successful we are. And then we have our top down impacts. And these are our feelings, our emotionals, our executive functioning skill development. Have we had good role models for people who have shown us self discipline? What is our mindset? Do we believe we can grow or do we think we're stuck? What are our beliefs? This cognitive view, of course, impacts how successful we are with the goals we want to make. When you look at all three streams of this data that's pouring into us, it's easy to understand why it's so hard. But how do we get a grasp on capturing how to tackle all of them? Well, there's a way we have to look at this. And the way we look at this is to say that we've got to change our environment, right? We got to change our thinking. And we've also got to change our biology. If you just change your thinking, but your environment and your biology is not set up for success, you won't hit your goal. If you just change your environment, but you always are thinking that you'll not be successful, that you're stuck, you have a fixed mindset, you won't be successful. So we have to change all three of these three data streams to make success long term and to also make it impactful. So, how do we do this? Well, this is a phenomenal chart that you can do with just a piece of paper. Grab a piece of paper and divide it into 4 sections, right? And the first section we're going to do is we're going to write the goal you want to achieve. And that goal you want to achieve is, what are you working on? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to practice calmness? Do you want to be more organized? Okay. The other thing we're going to add is, why do you want the goal? You've got to focus on your why. And the reason is you're going to be stressed and you're going to have days that aren't your best days. You've got to cling to that why. There's a saying that says, a man who has a why can bear any how. Don't forget why you want to make this change. And then plan for sabotage. And we're going to come back to that. So the first thing we're going to look at is outside in. We're going to look at your environment and what can you do in the environment to support your goal. Think about outside the body, all right? These are things that you can set up to help you be successful. An example would be if you wanted to eat healthy, you aren't going to have any junk food in the house. Okay, that's something successful. If it's harder to get to it, you won't be able to access it as easily. Then we're going to look at top down, and this is, what is your mindset or your beliefs here? How can you help yourself think clearer about your goals? All right. An example here would be if you were looking to do the eat more healthy thing, looking at foods such as how they are building you up instead of seeing it as a loss that you don't get to eat the candy. You are instead eating healthy food so that your body has the nutrients it needs to be the best it can be. It's just shifting the mindset from a positive lens instead of a deficit lens. That's an example there. And then finally, the bottom up. And this here is looking at your biology. So you may think, well, if you don't get enough sleep, let's be honest, without sleep, a lot of things are harder to do. So maybe your goal is you're going to sleep more, which will help you not be as stressed, which will make you not want to emotionally eat if healthy is your goal. So why do we plan for sabotage? Now, Dr. Sarah McKay's model does not have this, and I have added it just because in my work, I do work with a lot of vulnerable populations. And what I find is that for some people, or maybe a lot of people, we make these big plans, we have these great goals, and unfortunately, we slip, we fail because we're human. So making a plan for sabotage, and sabotage means how your brain will sabotage your success, it helps you to understand that there's going to be days where you're going to mess up. And when you mess up, it doesn't mean you stop. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're learning. And those new neural pathways are not as strong yet. They're not as strong as your established pathways that have gotten you where you are, but you want to make a change. So a plan for sabotage allows you to understand that it's not going to be an easy path. It's not going to dictate your success if you mess up. And for a lot of people who have failed previously, understanding that failing is part of learning and it actually means you're growing can almost be empowering. It can almost say, dang I had a bad morning. Doesn't mean I'm going to have a bad afternoon. And what it does is it allows us to keep that growth mindset moving forward so we don't give up. Okay, let's do this because I know I've talked a lot. And so let's look at what a sample would look like. So the goal I want to achieve is to practice the pause. And what that means is before I react, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to calm my nervous system, and then I'm going to access my higher thinking skills and become responsive instead of reactive. Now, for my plan for sabotage, I know I'm going to fail because I have a temper. It just is what it is. So on the days that I fail, or the times that I fail, I should say, I am going to breathe, understand I'm human, understand failing is a part of it, and try again. I'm not going to talk bad about myself. Instead, I'm going to say, oh, it's part of learning. Let's try again. So, for my plan, what can I change in my environment that will help me practice the pause? Well, I can find an accountability partner. I can set reminders up. In other words, posting my process visually. I can put up a poster that says, practice the pause, or 3 deep breaths. There's a ton. Or calm is my superpower. Anything that will give me the confidence to keep trying. I'm going to actually rate my stress before and after because for me, I like to quantify. So if I can say I'm super stressed, I'm going to rate that as a 6. I take 3 deep breaths. I focus in, I'm mindful, and now I feel a 3. Now I can actually quantify how I'm feeling, and that gives me a tangible way in my mind to say I'm moving forward. And maybe I'll post some calming photos, maybe one of the beach or the mountains or something that brings me peace. Now, what can I do for top down? Well, I can do my breathing practices when I'm not stressed. Okay. That would actually be a way to start learning a new skill and then transferring it when I am. I can practice on the positives each day. I can practice gratitude and I can journal. And then what from bottom up? What can I do for my biology? Well, I can eat healthy foods. There's a lot of research that says when we eat junk, our gut biome gets messed up. We don't have serotonin being released, which makes us feel confident. I can make sure I'm drinking my water. I can know my triggers, and not only know my triggers, dive into why they trigger me. It's one thing to know that you're triggered, but it's another thing to dive into why I'm being triggered. And that's a great way to journal about. And then also exercise, linking my breath to movement with yoga. This could be a way that could help to strengthen the vagal tone in my body, so I'm not so reactive. Now, this is a lot going on. It's a lot of ideas, and I'm going to be honest, I can't do them all. And in fact, if I try to do them all, I probably will fail. So, what I'll do is pick one, just one, from each box. One from outside in, one from top down, one from bottom up. And make that a focus. And work on that for 4, maybe 6 weeks. And then, because I have to continue on this journey, I'll reflect on where I am and see if I need to add another one, or do I need to get better at what I'm working on. The path to change is not easy. In fact, it requires effort, and it requires us to constantly reflect and adjust how we're moving forward. But if we do not stop, then we'll actually fall back to our default neural pathways. And that will lead us not to success, but we'll actually end up back in our comfort zone where we are quite happy, but probably not progressing or moving forward the way we know we need to. If you like this information, Dr. Sarah McKay, there's her website. She has amazing blogs and resources that you can tap into. All right, I hope this was helpful.